Hi again, welcome. Thank you for joining me today for Common Nutrition Myths Debunked. My name is Dr. Lauren Pihlgren. No pill makes you grin like Dr. Pihlgren. I am a naturopathic physician dedicated to educating and motivating others to achieve optimal health. I am a graduate of Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona, and a transplant from outside Boston, Massachusetts. I have been practicing medicine and therefore compassion, acceptance, and tolerance for more than 15 years now. No matter what you are struggling with, believe me, I have either experienced it myself or have worked with someone firsthand who has had the same issues. There's no topic that I have not discussed with a patient over the years, from the most mundane to the most embarrassing. As a naturopathic physician and certified CBT provider, that's cognitive behavioral therapy, as a naturopathic physician and certified CBT provider, it is my job to remain impartial, analyze the information you provide, and help guide you to goals that are established collaboratively and approved by you. I offer a unique perspective to general medicine, weight management, viral infections, and other difficult to diagnose cases, which means that I really specialize in the connection between gut health and mental health, otherwise known as the gut-brain axis. The gut-brain axis consists of bi-directional communication between the central nervous system and the enteric nervous system. Enteric being anything related to or happening in the intestinal system. So the gut-brain axis's role is to monitor and integrate emotional and cognitive centers of the brain with peripheral intestinal functions. It is now widely believed that the gut microbiota is critically important for the appropriate development and maintenance of brain function. Moreover, there is accumulating evidence implicating the microbiota in a variety of psychiatric, neurologic, and neurodegenerative diseases. Given the role of diet in modulating the microbiota, we may really be focusing on a diet microbiota gut-brain axis in mediating health and disease across the lifespan. Today, I am here as a facilitator, but above all, a wellness support system to assist you in any way I can. I hope to help you identify and execute and achieve your goals. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So again, the topic is Common Nutrition Myths Debunked. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. When it comes to nutrition, knowing what to eat, how much, and how often can be confusing. We're constantly bombarded with media headlines and advertisements about the latest trends, but these messages rarely have our health in mind. So our first myth that we're going to tackle today is whether all calories are created equally or not. First of all, let's talk about what a calorie is. In the very basic terms, all calories are actually created equal because a calorie is simply a unit for measuring energy. When you hear something contains 100 calories, it's a way of describing how much energy your body could possibly extract from that something. So in this case, 100 calories equates to 100 units of possible energy that our body could extract from that product. But it's the way in which our body uses those calories that accounts for the difference between weight loss or weight gain results. The origin of a calorie determines how the body digests and stores that energy. Calories in and of themselves are not bad for you. In fact, this is your body's fuel for energy. But eating too many calories and not burning enough of them off through activity can obviously lead to weight gain. People who are active and move around a lot need more calories than people who don't. If you eat more calories than you need, the body changes extra calories to fat. Too much fat can obviously lead to being overweight and can lead to other health problems as well. So I want to emphasize eating a more healthy than not, mostly balanced overall diet. And remember that exercising and playing are really important too, because physical activity burns calories. Studies also show that calories from different foods are not absorbed the same. When people eat high fiber foods like nuts and vegetables, for example, only about 3/4 of the calories those products contained are actually absorbed by the body. The rest are excreted from the body completely unused. So in other words, the body uses and stores calories differently depending on the nutrients each food is comprised of. In order to understand why calories differ, let's take a look at different nutrients and how the body handles them. You may have heard foods being described in terms of density. This refers to different nutrients having more or fewer calories packed into the same weight, making them higher or lower calorie density. The state college fitness consultants describe a calorie-dense food as one that contains a high number of calories relative to its weight. These are foods that are typically high in amount of saturated fats, high in sodium, high in added sugars, and other simple carbohydrates. They lack vitamins, minerals, and other nutritional components. Whereas nutrient-dense foods contain a lower number of calories by weight, but a higher number of essential vitamins, minerals, fiber, lean proteins, and other beneficial nutrients. And of course, while many foods we consider to be either calorie dense or nutrient dense, there are several foods that fall somewhere in between. These foods are an important addition to a healthy diet, but should be monitored because you don't want to overindulge in these either. Examples of foods that fall in between the calorie and the nutrient dense categories include avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, nut butters, dried fruits, and hummus. So the second myth that we're going to tackle today is whether or not carbs make you fat. So I'm sure that you guys have heard of this one before. Many popular diets are based on the myth that carbs make you fat. In reality, carbs themselves aren't the enemy because there are different types of carbs that we need to take a look at. So carbs fall into 3 categories. There are complex carbohydrates that consist of starches and fibers that are interwoven into the sugars that comprise up carbohydrates. But complex carbohydrates are one of 3 macronutrients that the body actually needs for fuel. And so it's the simple sugars that actually what makes us fat. So if we remember from past webinars, if you've been paying attention along with the series, we know that the microbiota and the microbiome that lives in our digestive system dictates how we digest our food and controls our overall well-being and our health. And last time we got together, we discussed the sugar crash as related to insulin and to diabetes. Today, I want to talk more about how sugar relates to your cholesterol levels and more specifically to your triglyceride numbers in relationship to your LDL and your HDL numbers versus your total cholesterol. Your total cholesterol numbers mean nothing unless you know your HDL, LDL, and triglyceride numbers as well. Cholesterol in and of itself is not a bad thing. In fact, your body needs cholesterol to work properly. HDL is the taxi that takes unused cholesterol from all over the body and brings it back to the liver where it gets reprocessed into other cholesterol-based products. This is why HDL is known as the good cholesterol, because it's sweeping up unused cholesterol and bringing it back to the liver. LDL is known as the bad cholesterol because it's the cholesterol that goes from the liver out to the rest of the body. So LDL is the name of the delivery truck that takes the new cholesterol from the liver, where it was made, out to the various parts of the body so it can be utilized appropriately by all of the cells. Triglycerides, on the other hand, are sugars wrapped up inside of fats and cholesterols. A triglyceride is composed of a glycerol, sugar backbone, and 3 fatty acids that hang off of that backbone. And this fat-sugar combination is the primary form of energy storage in the body. Again, those of you that have been following along with me through the whole webinar series will remember that sugar is used by the body for immediate energy. If need for that energy is not met, the demand for the influx of the sugar, then the sugar is stored as fat. And now we know that this is called a triglyceride. And while some is good and necessary for the body, more is not better. The most common causes of high triglycerides are obesity and poorly controlled blood sugar levels. If you are overweight and not active, eat a lot of carbohydrates or sugary foods, or drink a lot of alcohol, you may have high triglycerides. But let's talk about the complex carbohydrates. Remember, I said that these are long chains of glucose molecules which are interwoven with either starches or fibers. The starches help to break the glucose down more slowly so that you don't get a rapid influx of glucose, causing that rapid high and then sugar crash. Fiber is not something that humans can digest. So because fiber is non-soluble and sticky, it travels through your digestive system and into the colon, where it drifts around like a tumbleweed. And it drifts back and forth, bouncing around and ricocheting off the walls of the large intestine. And while doing so, it encounters a variety of matter also floating along the digestive tract. When the fiber comes into contact with all those different types of cholesterol I just mentioned, as well as other fat-based molecules, those molecules are attracted to the fiber's stickiness, and they become ensnared in the fiber tumbleweed, and they end up being flushed from the body rather than reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, where they can potentially cause problems down the road. Non-soluble fiber is also used to help reduce gas and bloating temporarily, as is the case with Metamucil and generic psyllium husks. So not all carbs are created equal. So the take-home message is that carbs are often referred to as simple versus complex, or whole versus refined. Whole carbs are generally considered healthy because they are unprocessed and contain the fiber found naturally in the food. They include vegetables, whole fruit, legumes, potatoes, and whole grains. Whole food sources of carbohydrates are also commonly loaded with nutrients. Refined carbs, on the other hand, including sugar-sweetened beverages, fruit juices, pastries, white bread, white pastas, white rice, and others. These carbs are highly processed, meaning the natural fiber is completely removed, and these foods have been associated with many health problems like obesity and type 2 diabetes. Additionally, refined carbohydrate foods are generally lacking in essential nutrients that the body needs. So the good versus the bad. Just in case you're still a little unclear on which carbohydrates are good for you and which are not, here is a list. The good complex carbohydrates include vegetables, all of them. It's best to eat a variety of vegetables every day. Good complex carbohydrates also include whole fruits like apples, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, really any whole fruit that you could think of. Also legumes, including lentils, kidney beans, peas, etc. Nuts, including almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, macadamia, peanuts, etc. all manner of seeds, including chia, pumpkin, sesame, and sunflower. Whole grains. Choose grains that are truly whole, as in pure oats, quinoa, brown rice, and buckwheat, otherwise known as kasha. The bad, simple carbs include sugary drinks such as soda, vitamin water, fruit juices, and the like. Simple carbs also include white bread, pastries, cookies, and cakes, ice cream, candies, and chocolates. If you're going to eat chocolate, choose high quality dark chocolate. And of course, we can't leave out of the list of bad, simple carbs, the French fries and the potato chips. Whole potatoes are healthy, but the deep fried French fries and the even deeper fried potato chips, not so much on the healthy side. The third myth that we're going to tackle is that healthy food is more expensive. Okay, I will admit this one is a little tricky. It kind of depends on how you look at the cost. When considering the overall cost of your health, it is clear that processed foods are more expensive. Filling your cart with fresh produce versus cheap, frozen, and boxed meals can create a difference in your weekly grocery budget, I know. However, the few dollars that you're going to save by purchasing unhealthy foods will end up costing you more in the long run. What we use to fuel our bodies determines how efficiently we burn the energy. From feeling sluggish and fatigued all day to treating conditions associated with being overweight or even the lost wages of being sick, all affect our bottom line. Spending a little more on healthier foods will save you money on healthcare costs. There are countless numbers of research reports which have found that how we eat impacts health. The result, surprise, surprise, is that spending a little more on healthy food in your regular grocery shopping can drastically reduce healthcare costs over time. An article I found on marketwatch.com, published in March of 2019, I discovered that a study has been done providing the financial outcome of eating a wildly unbalanced diet devoid of salads, fruits, and other nutrient-dense complex carbohydrates. And so Tufts University discovered they used a computer model to calculate that prescribing healthy food to patients could prevent as many as 3.28 million medical conditions, such as heart attacks and strokes. And that same prescription of healthy food would save more than $100 billion in healthcare costs. That's 100 billion with a B. So the research team observed people between the ages of 35 and 80 who were enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid and used data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey from the 3 years prior. The team then came up with two scenarios to measure how patients' health and general cost would impact the health food prescriptions. So the first scenario, they examined the financial impact of covering 30% of the costs of fruits and vegetables under Medicare and Medicaid. In the second scenario, they investigated how 30% of the cost of fruits, vegetables, and other foods such as plant oils, nuts, and seafood and whole grains would be covered, okay? So there's two groups. Both groups are gonna cover 30% of the costs. In the first group, they're only gonna cover 30% of the cost of fruits and vegetables. And in the second group, they're gonna cover 30% of the cost of fruits, vegetables, olive oils, nuts, seafood, and whole grains. The study determined that under the proposed prescription models, patients would rely less on healthcare. Researchers found that the first food prescription model, where it was 30% of only fruits and vegetables, would decrease healthcare costs by nearly 40 billion. That's 40 billion with a B. And that was 30% of just fruits and vegetables. The second model, where it was 30% of fruits, vegetables, olive oil, nuts, whole grains, and seafood, The second model said that healthcare costs would be reduced by more than $100 billion. That was 100 billion with a B. So to recap, this study is suggesting that prescriptions for healthy foods could help lower the risk of expensive chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and diabetes in Medicare and Medicaid patients. I found another article from Harvard Health where they did a whole study and discovered that the more expensive, healthier diet, they compared a wildly unhealthy diet to meeting the healthiest that you could, and they discovered that the difference was $1.50 per day. And so the quote I have from the article is that while healthier diets did cost more, again, it was $1.50 more per day to eat healthy, the difference was smaller than many people might have expected. Over the course of a year, $1.50 per day more for eating a healthy diet would increase food costs for one person by $550 per year. So the article and the research team is saying that this would represent a real burden for some families and that we need policies to help offset these costs. So that would be where the other study that I mentioned earlier, where they're covering 30% of fruits and vegetables, say this could offset some of those costs that would raise the bill $1.50 a day or $550 per year. And wouldn't that be nice if the government kicked in for some of those healthier foods? Okay, so tips for eating healthy on a budget. First and foremost, doing anything on a budget requires planning. In my webinar, The Art of Meal Prep, I go into much greater detail as to how to plan and prep meals ahead of time so that they're set and ready to go when you need them. But here's a nutshell version. It takes a lot of time and energy to cook your meals every day. Most people choose to find the easiest option when they are tired at the end of a long workday. Unfortunately, this is often just fast food that can be acquired quickly on the way home. The art of meal prepping fixes this problem. Having good food that you want to eat ready and available at home can become a more convenient option. You won't want to have to stop somewhere to get takeout or wait in line at the drive-thru when you have a better and easier option available and waiting for you in the comfort of your own home. You'll naturally begin to eat healthier because you're not relying on eating out as the easiest route. Plus, you'll have full control over what you're preparing rather than just ordering something when you're at your hangriest. Some tips to help keep your grocery bill down while trying to eat healthier is definitely don't go to the grocery store without a plan. Without a plan for your week, you are most likely to make impulse purchases that you wouldn't otherwise make. Don't forget, the food industry has very powerful marketing campaigns, so going to the grocery store without a list leaves you more susceptible to falling for the ploys that they use. Directing your grocery shopping makes it more productive, takes less time, and saves you money. By keeping up with coupons and sales, you will know when to make larger purchases of more expensive items, and then you will have them on hand ready to defrost. Or even better, you can have them as part of your ready-to-go meal, either already cooked and just needs to be heated up, or as a ready-to-cook option, just ready to be thrown into the oven, almost like having your own version of the Jetsons. Another way to make your meat go further is to make stews, casseroles, and quiches, and others of the like. I've even seen people take advantage of the Meatless Monday trend by incorporating 1 or 2 nights of meatless dinners, which allows them to both stretch $1 and also introduce more healthy habits into their routine. But even if you don't want to go completely meatless, there are still options to reduce the amount of animal protein and increase protein sources such as beans, quinoa, cheese, and eggs, which will add fiber and good fats in addition to protein, and will keep you feeling fuller longer after that big salad that was meant to be dinner. Either which way, make sure that you know what you are looking for when you step into the grocery store. Pick 2 or 3 recipes that you know that you and your family enjoy and that are fairly easy to make. Make sure all the ingredients are on your shopping list and make sure all the items make it all the way home. Then cook up all of your dinners all at once. If not in different pots on the stove at the same time, then in succession, or on the stove and in the oven at the same time. And cook more than enough of each dinner so that each dinner will feed you and your family twice. Double the batches of each dinner, and all of a sudden you have 6 dinners ready and waiting for you when you need to pull dinner together in a hurry or when you are too tired to think about cooking. Voila! And all you had to do is cook a little bit extra time once and then freeze the meals in portion appropriate containers. If you keep this up, you will find yourself saving time, money, and enjoying food more while losing or maintaining weight healthily. So the next myth is whether gluten-free is the way to go or not. The fad of going gluten-free has exploded recently. The fact is, only 1% of the population has a genetic condition called celiac disease. People with this condition must avoid gluten almost at all costs. The only way to determine a true gluten allergy is with medical testing. While people with celiac disease need to avoid gluten, it is not necessary for the rest of us to do so. If you suspect gluten is causing you discomfort, I would start with an elimination diet. Just know that gluten-free foods are not automatically healthier. In fact, gluten substitutes may actually increase calorie content and contribute to weight gain. Okay, I won't sugarcoat it here. This is one of my soapbox rant topics. Not the fact that people want to go gluten-free, but rather how they go about doing it. Eliminating gluten from your diet by choice means not eating muffins. It does not mean finding a way to make muffins gluten-free. My favorite go-to expert for breaking down the whys of food science is Dr. Oz. And he is constantly reminding us that when companies make a fat-free product or a gluten-free product or a something-free product, they still have to account for the taste. Dr. Oz also explains to us that if something is removed from a product, then something else has to be added back in its place. Many times, these are artificial chemicals and flavoring that trick our body into thinking we have had what we need, but the body ends up without the proper fuel necessary to run efficiently and effectively. Make sure that you know what you are buying and what you are putting into your body. So the next myth is whether low-fat foods are better for you or not. Whether you are trying to watch your weight or maintain a healthy lifestyle, when we are walking up and down the aisles of the grocery store, the low-fat option may seem to be the way to go. Unfortunately, your good intentions may leave you worse off than before you started. Low-fat is often synonymous with loaded with salt and cheap carbohydrates. Remember, if something is removed from a product, something else has to be added back in its place. These end up being empty calorie fillers and synthetic chemicals meant to trick your brain into thinking that it has received what it needs. As you'll remember, a high intake of simple sugars will be stored in the body as fat. Those fat cells are no longer seen by the body as fat cells because it has become a storage closet. This will inevitably lead to weight gain despite your best intentions to reduce your fat intake. Remember, it's not fat that makes you fat. It's unused sugar stored as fat, and that can't be accessed as fuel because it's inappropriate fat storage. You are better off getting the full fat version of anything and using less of it. In fact, this is another good time to embrace the big salad idea. Anytime you want to indulge in pizza, wings, fried foods, or greasy simple carbs, One way to eat until you're satisfied without overindulging is to add a nice sized salad to your unhealthy meal. Now, please note, make sure that you either eat your salad first or with your unhealthy choices so that it is actually contributing to filling you up and aiding in keeping the digestive system moving right along. Okay, the next myth that we're going to talk about is yogurt and whether it is actually good for the bacteria in your gut or not. So this one is actually true, provided that your yogurt that you're eating actually contains live active cultures. So I dove deep into what live active cultures are in the webinar entitled Fermentation 101. Unfortunately, most yogurt products are loaded with sugar, which is causing more harm than good and counteracting whatever good bacteria might be in that yogurt. In fact, the added sugar promotes unhealthy gut bacteria growth. Lactobacillus acidophilus is the bacteria you want to look for in your yogurt. So that's Lactobacillus acidophilus. Your best bet is to purchase plain yogurt and add your own flavoring with berries, honey, and cinnamon, or whatever taste palette strikes your fancy. Take a look at your yogurt. If it does not state live active cultures on the label, stop buying it. You are actually eating a dessert disguised as a healthy option. Okay, the next myth is about egg yolks and cholesterol. There has been a lot of debate about the health of eggs over the years, and the verdict is in. Eggs are healthy. While it is true that egg yolks contain dietary cholesterol, research has proven that dietary cholesterol has almost nothing to do with your blood cholesterol levels. Eggs are one of the healthiest foods that you can eat. One egg has only 75 calories, but 7 grams of high-quality protein, along with iron, vitamins, minerals, and carotenoids. The egg is noted as a powerhouse of disease-fighting nutrients like lutein and zeaxanthin. So skip the egg white-only breakfast and indulge in that yolk. Okay, our next myth, organic produce is more nutritious. Here's the truth about buying organic. Much like the light label, the organic label has a wide variety of definitions. Spending the extra dollar on organic fruits and vegetables might help you dodge pesticides, but there's no convincing evidence yet that conventional and organic produce are different in nutritional composition. If you are concerned about the quality of your produce but can't afford the prices of organic, opt instead for locally grown and seasonal items, probably at your local farmer's market. Chances are these items will have less chemical exposure. When foods don't have far to travel, they can be harvested closer to the time that they are meant to be eaten, ensuring optimal nutritional content. Our next myth is that it's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. Again, if you have been following along with the series of webinars, you will remember that there is a difference between a meal and a snack, as we discussed in Healthy Snacking 101. According to the USDA, the average American eats at least 2 snacks daily. These 2 snacks account for nearly 1/4 of daily calorie intake. This equates to approximately 500 calories of a 2,000 calorie diet. More and more, however, people are thinking of complete meals as snacks. So instead of noshing on just enough fuel to take the edge off of our hunger and get us through to the next meal, we continue to eat until full, just like we would do with a complete meal. What then is the purpose of the snack versus the meal? Because snacking contributes to such a large portion of our caloric intake, it is important for us to choose healthy items to ensure adequate, if not optimal, nutritional intake. Since it is not supposed to be a full meal and the object is to provide the necessary energy to keep us working efficiently, snack time is a great opportunity for increasing the intake of nutrient-dense foods. Nutrient-dense foods are foods that provide a healthy ratio of vitamins, minerals, fiber to the number of calories. The recommended foods that are nutrient dense are vegetables, fruits, whole grains, seafoods, eggs, beans, nuts, and seeds. These are the most nutritious and nutrient dense foods as recommended by the USDA. In comparison, empty calorie foods are those offering little to no nutritional value, but they do have a high calorie count. To put it simply, too many full meals throughout the day would be overkill, but choosing healthy snacking options that satisfy your hunger instead of empty calories can improve overall health and help limit the risk of chronic disease. And our last myth that we're going to be tackling today, people who work out need extra protein. This may be true for Olympic and professional athletes, but the average person does not need to consume additional protein when working out. Most of us are already consuming more than what is recommended. The average person consumes 77.5 grams of protein in a day, which is 146% more. It's 146% of the dietary reference intake for a 145-pound adult. So protein, like the complex carbohydrates and the fats, is a macronutrient. And if you remember, the macronutrient's job is to supply energy to the body. According to the National Institute of Health, the NIH, the recommended daily allowance for protein intake is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram, which is 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. However, they also note that a healthy diet can consist of 10 to 35% protein. So what does that mean in simple everyday terms? Well, a healthy, inactive person requires 50 grams of protein. If this person is already getting more than 50 grams of protein per day and then starts working out, there is no need to increase the protein more. They are already getting more than the 50 grams necessary for the body to work appropriately. Let me take this opportunity to talk about portion sizing, though. First, I would like to talk about your stomach, the actual organ, not the general midsection of your torso, typically referred to as the belly. Your stomach is literally only the size of your fist and is tucked up underneath your rib cage on the left side. The liver and the gallbladder are on your right side, but on the left side, and only the size of your fist, is your stomach. Because the stomach is only the size of your fist, one really should not eat more than in one sitting than what fits in the palm of the hand. Of course, this is not generally the case as we sit down to a full meal. So protein ounce for ounce. An ounce is 28 grams of protein, and we know that we only need 50 grams of protein to sustain life and for our body to function properly. And so 1 ounce of meat would be 1 ounce of protein. 1 ounce of poultry, 1 ounce of chicken would be 1 ounce of protein. And same with seafood, right? So this is 28 grams. Now, nobody eats 1, 2, or 3 ounces of steak, fish, or chicken. That's typically more of a 6-ounce portion on the small side. A 6-ounce steak equals 168 grams of protein. So already we have more than tripled our daily allowance of protein calories. Okay, so I know we covered a lot of information today. If you have any questions, I am here to help. To recap, what we went over today was whether all calories are created equal, whether carbs make you fat or not, whether healthy food is the more expensive option in the short run and the long run, whether gluten-free is the way to go, whether low-fat foods are actually better for you or not, whether yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly, whether eggs raise your cholesterol, is organic produce more nutritious, is it better to eat small meals throughout the day, and people who work out need extra protein. These are the myths that we went through today. Eating healthy does not have to be complicated, and it is possible on any budget. When planning your trip to the grocery store, make sure that you have a plan and a list. Take an inventory of what is already in your kitchen before you go shopping to avoid overbuying, which of course leads to food waste. Shop the perimeter of the store. This is where the healthier items live. The center of the store contains boxed and processed foods and should be avoided whenever possible. Try new recipes or try new ways of cooking favorite foods. Vegetables can be prepared in all manner of ways, and many of them are quite delicious. Look for local, in-season produce at your local farmers markets and replace high-fat proteins with leaner fat animal or even plant-based options. So as always, I like to share the resources that went into making today's webinar. And so here they are. Feel free to take a screenshot, and I will roll down to the bottom. There you go. Okay, so otherwise feel free to pause. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that we covered a lot of information, and that it may take some time for all of it to sink in. So please do not hesitate to email any questions that you have to me. The email address would be info@thecenterofbalanceclinic.com. info@thecenterofbalanceclinic.com. That is also our website, thecenterofbalanceclinic.com. On our website, we have a video gallery where you can find all of the webinars that I have been doing along the way. So if you are interested in any of the ones that I made mention of, or if another title strikes your fancy, all of them are available there on the website, thecenterofbalanceclinic.com. We are specializing in physical and emotional well-being. We are offering clinical homeopathy, supplement prescriptions, and cognitive behavioral therapy to help you through any trying times that you find yourself in, whether COVID related or not. Thank you all for joining me today. This is our last webinar of the year. We do have one scheduled. I believe it is January 14th, and it is definitely demystifying detoxification. So we're going to be talking about how to detox your body after indulging in some of those holiday treats that we may actually get to do this year. So I hope that you are able to join me live for the next event, Demystifying Detox. That's what it's called. Again, my name is Dr. Lauren Pihlgren. No pill makes you grin like Dr. Pihlgren. Thank you.